Hi, I'm Kelly Forshaw-Smith, Head Medical Trainer for the Finishing Touches Group and Director and Technician of Medicos London. And today we have...
Theresa Judd.
Now, Theresa's topic today is going to be 20 years in the industry. Theresa is a technician. And whereabouts are you based, Theresa?
I'm in Louisville, Kentucky and Nashville, Tennessee.
Fantastic. And Theresa, tell me a little bit. You do everything, don't you? You do all micropigmentation.
I do. I would say probably scars are the thing I do the least. I never really got as proficient at it as I would have liked. And I just got so consumed with the other that I didn't miss it so much. I leave it to people like you who are like obsessed and completely saturated with information. I'm like, go there.
Love it. Come over to England.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously with Theresa, you do scalp micropigmentation, you do the cosmetic side, the eyebrows, the eyeliner, the lips, and you also do you do skin as well?
I do areolas, cleft lips. So I do some of the paramedical, just not so much the blatant, like camouflage on the face or things like that. I'm like, no.
What did you start off with? Did you start off with the makeup side?
I did 20 years ago. I had gotten it, well, when I was 23, I used to sit in the bathroom sink. I lived in Florida and it's always hot. It's always humid. Your makeup lasts for about 5 minutes and then it slides off your face. And I used to sit there and go, I swear to you, if I ever, if you could ever have it tattooed, I would. And then I went, yeah, right. Like that's ever going to happen. I was 23. And then 10 years later, I was living in New Jersey and a friend popped up and she's like, oh my gosh, I got a friend who does permanent makeup. I'm like, shut up. They're really doing it? It's really a thing now? So I go running, big mistake. She's like, wait, she speaks Portuguese. I'll have to translate for you. Oh, okay, no problem. I run, it's her apartment. I'm on the couch. I could leave it there and you know the end of the story. It's not good, okay, not good. I was like, okay. And then several more years went by and another friend was like, I found this girl. So again, like an idiot, I ran. And then I end up with the marshmallow with coffee colored eyebrows. Yeah, I was like, okay. I just covered it up with foundation and drew over them and went, this is a great idea. Why are people so stupid? I don't get it. How come you can't figure out how to do this right? And I got mad. And when I get mad, then it's on. And I scoured through the US and I think there might have been 4 people, maybe 5 at the most that taught. And I found one. I went and I never looked back from there. That was it. I was on. This is what I wanted to do.
And that was for eyebrows, eyeliner, and lips?
Correct.
Very
correct.
good.
And they had advanced courses for areolas and cleft lips, and I took that class as well.
When did you get into SMP then?
I've kind of been doing it my entire 20 years. I'd say 19 out of the 20, but not by advertising and not by even thinking that it was a thing. I would just get these random phone calls from guys going, please don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. I know you do permanent cosmetics, but is there anything you could do? I've got this scar. And I was just crazy enough to say, okay, well, this is not what they taught us in school, but I'm an outside the box kind of thinker and I'm a bit of a risk taker. And they're like, just let me come and let's talk. And that kind of started it. And then I went, well, we could shade it in. We could do little hair strokes. We could do pointillism, I suppose. And I told him, well, this is what I could think of, because there was nothing. There was nothing. And so, one, I tried to powder fill in. Okay, that worked well enough, but you know how that ends. It wasn't a good idea at all. Another guy, I gave him the 3 options, told him what I thought about the powder fill in, and he was like, yeah, I don't want that. Let's try some hair strokes. Tried those, and it wasn't bad because of the way he had his hair cut and the length. But we know about those too. They spread out and look like dog duty. So then that left me with the pointillism.
Yeah.
And so I did it. I liked it. The guy liked it. The next guy liked it. Now, they would just come random, one every 6 months, 9 months, a year. So I never advertised it. I just did it when they came. And all we had was permanent makeup pigment and permanent makeup needles. But 20 years ago, if you had open heart surgery, I mean, they ransacked your chest, but you were happy to be alive, so you were thinking it was the bone. Now you try that in today's day, and they're like, that's beastly.
Yeah.
You know,
how have things changed? Like, as in, have things changed? Well, I'm sure they have. Obviously, everything changes, but have things changed with technique?
Just so much, you know, well, technique. I think a lot of the Europeans, you may or may not agree with me, I think they are super risk takers. They're like the Galileos of permanent makeup. I mean, they will try any type of technique and then hone it and perfect it because it's an obstacle and they're going to defeat it. And so they're a lot bolder. So they're coming out with these crazy ways to do things, which obviously here we thought was really crazy. A lot of them have panned out to be beautiful. I never thought you could do single needle work the way that they do now, but they do. So things like that, you know, they're just real risk takers. Now, there was a big rush on that, and then now it's kind of slowed down, and some people have dropped certain fancy techniques. They're like, look, I can get the same thing done a whole lot easier. You know, it was fun to learn because you always want to try something different, but some of it has fallen back to the old way. Yeah. And sometimes the old way is the best way.
Like they say, if it ain't broke, don't try and fix it.
Correct. I mean, yeah, they had more, I call them primitive machines for permanent makeup. You were using standard tattoo machines back in the day, but literally the year that I took my classes, it had just went from pretty much a double coil, and that's it. That's what you got. Take it, leave it, that's it. To Micropigmentation had come out with something they called the Platinum 5000. Whoa, like Mad Max, you know, permanent makeup machines. And I was one of the first groups to be able to purchase that machine for my training. And I ended up purchasing 2 of them because I traveled with my work between northern New Jersey and New York City. So I thought, well, if one breaks, sweet Jesus, what do you do then? Your whole day's ruined, and it takes 2 hours to get through traffic to get into Manhattan. I can't just go back home and go pick up my, you know. Yeah. So I bought 2, and I swear to God, they lasted 16 years. Wow. I love that machine. I mean, it was like high tech at the time, you know, super high tech at the time. And you still had, maybe your 5 to 7 different needle configurations for different procedures, but that was it. There were no cartridges. They were the needles on a stick. You screw them in. You know, they just come out with disposable casings. So I'm kind of really the beginning of the second generation. Yeah. I'm not like I said, your mother or some other ones where they were practicing on bananas, you know, and that's all they had. And it was a double coil that was like, you know, people. Gold. Yeah. I kind of was lucky enough to step into when it started to progress.
But you still had to autoclave all of the stuff and sterilize it, didn't you?
No, actually, that's what I'm saying. This was like really the first machine. There's the base with the motor, and I would cover it with plastic sandwich bags, dollar store plastic sandwich bags. And the casing was disposable, and the tip was disposable, and obviously the needle was disposable. So no, I didn't have to do that.
Okay, well that was lucky.
I was literally that second generation, but the first of the second generation where, you know, the teachers would say, you don't know how lucky you got it. This is some great stuff. And it's true. I mean, it started it, but it's progressed so much more since then, where now your machines, although I still loved that machine, if it was still running, I'd still use it. Because it was great. I'd gotten so used to it. It was like I didn't even think about it. You know what I mean? I knew that machine inside, outside, and upside down.
Yeah.
But now you've got machines that take cartridges, and you've got different diameter single needle cartridges.
You've got ones without cords. You've got cordless ones. You've got all sorts, haven't you now?
Oh, you do. And it's fun, but it really is fun. But I'm kind of still. The couple of machines that I'm using are still basically very much like the one I used in the beginning, which is thin, streamlined, kind of like a bigger ink pen, you know, one of those big chunky ink pens.
Yeah.
And I run back to it like a baby puppy. I'm like, that's where I'm comfortable. But you've got the ones, like you said, with, you know, no cords if you don't want them, you know, all kinds of great power, you know, power adapters. You've got so much to choose from now.
What about styles, Theresa? Like, obviously the styles of, like, you get a lot of retro nowadays where you look back and all fashions are coming back into trend. So at the moment, I don't know about whether it's the same in America, I'm sure it is, but it's quite thick eyebrows are the fashion. Is that the same in America?
Some places. Now, I'm from Louisville, but I have lived in northern New Jersey and New York City for 21 years. So it seems like kind of the bigger cities tend to be a little more bold in their choices. I guess they get bored easier. I don't know. But here back in Louisville, like the Nashville, they're just, you know, they're like, listen, I'm good without all the fancy multicolor, super big wing, super thick eyebrows. I just want this. That's all I want. So
I think because fashion's changed so much, like just a standard size eyebrow is good, or a standard size eyeliner, because then you can always put makeup on top of it. You can always adapt it. You can always change it, however the fashions are going, different colors, whatever it might be. But if you've got the base, it should enhance, I think, should enhance what you look like, not totally determine what you look like on your face.
Correct. I tell people I don't tattoo for drama and nighttime. Yeah. I tattoo for daytime. And I said, you know, you don't want to look like a hooker when you have to go to work in the morning. You know, it's fun when you're going clubbing, you know, pile it on.
I love to look like a hooker when I go clubbing.
I do too. But during daytime work, you know, and they laugh, they're a little bit, and then they start laughing. They're like, you're right. I don't want to look like a parody of myself.
Yeah.
I just want to look like a better version of myself. I don't want to be embarrassed to wake up and get out of bed and open the door.
Yeah.
And
how long with the training back then? Like nowadays, it's kind of 4 days, and then we over here we have assessments, and then we have all the theory that goes along with it beforehand, the pre-theory. How long was training back then when you started?
Back then, I believe we had like 3 or 4 days. I think it was like 3 days of training, and then I think there was like the partials of like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and this is your stuff, and you know what I mean? So I think it was like 3 full days of training. God, it's slipping my mind. It's been so long, but I think that's what it was. And it was just basic. And then you had the opportunity to come back if you wanted to and take your advanced course. Now, it's gotten pretty strict. I know in New Jersey where you have to be board certified, you have to go to a board certified school, you have to have, it may even have changed. It may have gone to 100 hours now. And do your advanced class, your paramedical class, and then you either get to attend the specific conventions or fly away to take your board certification exam, and then you have to procure the proper insurance or you can't do it. But what's good is even though I left New Jersey, it still follows me wherever I go. And at the time I thought it was a pain in my butt. And now I realize, I'm like, God, I didn't have enough hours back then. But I was really fortunate because I made friends with my teacher, Elizabeth Finch, and we just hit it off. We're like criminals, you know what I mean? Like whatever crime we could get into, that's what we did. And so with her being my friend, she was really good to me. And when I was like, I got somebody sitting in my chair right now, Elizabeth, and I'm like, what? You know, and so it was kind of like having that extra training because I had her, you know, at, you know, a phone calls, just, you know, just if I could reach the phone, I could talk to her. Yeah. But I was lucky that way. I feel bad for the other people that really had to sit and figure it out. But we still, even with that, there was a lot of, that first year, I just sat in a pool of sweat, okay? My butt was wet with sweat. And I would just, it was fake it till you make it.
You have such a way with words. I love it.
It was true though. I'd get up and it'd be wet. I was sweating. Or the client, when I'd stop, they'd look at me and they'd go, how's it look? And I'm like, it's great.
Was it, you know how obviously immediately after when someone's had a treatment, it's very, very dark. Has it always been like that? Like 20 years ago, was it still the same or was it even worse?
No, it was the same because it's a principle that you can't avoid. It's like when you cut your leg in the shower. When you get out of the shower, the blood is bright red. But when you look back at it 15 minutes later, it's brown and rusty. You can't stop oxidation. That's all that it is. The air got to the outside. What you implanted is still exactly what it's supposed to be if you made the right choices. But the external, there's nothing you can do about it. It's part of the healing process. So unfortunately, dark, it starts to go in. And I always show the client maybe 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes in and say, see the little section I've done. Because by the time I show them when I'm done, one of the eyebrows is already fully oxidated and the other one is well on its way and they can't relate to what I've put into the skin.
I guess just in my head, I'm just thinking, because obviously I originally, when I first began, I obviously started quite a while ago, 15 years ago, not as much as 20, but 15. And
that's close.
They had the older machines and we used to have to put them all together and all of the rest. And we used to have to autoclave ours in the UK in between treatments and so on. And the reason I was thinking is that because it was a lot more aggressive, the types of machines that we had, and obviously we don't know quite as much, so we don't need to go as deep down as we thought we needed to go. I mean, I remember originally first doing a little bit of SMP and thinking I had to hammer it in, whereas now it's like the tiniest little tip that's going in. So obviously things have changed, but that's what I was thinking, is that maybe they look darker immediately because we thought we had to hammer them.
Well, it was the healed result that ended up saying what we did or what we did not do. When they came back cold as ice, you're like, and I didn't understand it at first. I'd call Elizabeth freaking out and she'd say, you got a heavy hand, Theresa. You know that, I know that. And it's because she also made the pigments I used. So that's why she was so helpful, because not only was she a teacher, she made the pigments. Yeah. So she would know if I would say something, she'd be like, boo, boo, I know you and I know what I make. You're too heavy-handed. That's why they came out super cold and there's no warmth to them. You're too heavy-handed.
Okay. Well, how much were treatments when you started? Can you remember?
Yeah, I actually can, because my prices aren't that different. Like when I was still going back, when I moved back to Kentucky, I was still for 4.5 years driving 13 hours each way and staying on a friend's couch or sofa bed or wherever someone could stick me for 2 weeks, because I don't look good broke. I had to make money. And when you have to rebuild in a whole new city, a whole new state that is not as progressive towards these procedures, I was like, I'm gonna starve or I gotta get hauling my butt back to Jersey. So that's what I did for the longest time till I was able to build here. But I still use a lot of the same pigments I did so long ago, and realized you don't have to have such a heavy hand. But that was a mark of my bad, is I had a very heavy hand. So I realized, I still have a heavier hand than a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. It's just, I guess it's in me. You can't beat it out of me now. But I'm more aware of it, and I either plan my pigment choices a little differently, knowing that I am, or I really have to focus on easy girl, whoa, trigger, whoa.
All guns blazing. If you could do anything different, is there anything that you would do different from now?
That's a good question. Maybe more training. More training, because I was so obsessed with trying to get this business going, trying to make it work, get out of the job that I was in, stop working nights, and going to bed at 4:30 in the morning, and then trying to wake up in the morning and do this. It was just like, and plus I didn't want the nights anymore. I was getting older, and I was like, no, I don't. So I'd say maybe just, there wasn't enough of me. So I just got really focused on it. I wish I'd probably done more training with different people, but it was pretty overwhelming. I was just like, look, I need to listen to a few people, because too many got my head just where I just would freeze up. I stopped learning. You know what I mean? But I do now wish I had planned it out a nice distance and say, I'm going to take another knee training with this one, and I'm going to take another. That's probably my
pick up different tips and tricks from different trainers.
But for the most part, I know this is where I was supposed to be. It fell in, I mean, yes, I pursued it, but it also fell into my lap a lot easier than it did for a lot of people. I'm OCD, which really, really helps with what I do. I did traditional makeup for people before that as well. Plus, I guess I just had a knack for it and a real interest in it. And it seemed a little edgy, so I was way into it. But there's really not a whole lot I would change. It made me who I am, where I am, how I do things. I just think maybe just doing more trainings, you know, with different people, I think that probably would have been my one thing.
I think also like nowadays as well, I mean, I know for me, is that there's so much more at the, you know, the touch of a button, so to speak. So you've got webinars, you can see people from all over the world. You don't necessarily have to travel to that country to see them. Also, you know, the marketing side of things is totally different. Like pretty much when I started for myself, it was kind of like, I was handwriting letters to people about semi-permanent makeup. Whereas nowadays, you just email. It's a lot easier.
Well, true. And it's funny, again, this is another one of them kind of meant to be things. I took, like, when I grab the ball and run, it's on. You're going to have to tackle me because it's once I've made up my mind, it's go. And literally when I got out of school, I had friends that were graphic designers, so they helped me make a brochure. I mean, was it sophisticated? No. Okay, no. But it was a brochure. Mm. Okay, my first probably 250 had the wrong phone number on them. But hey, I missed that. But I had that. And then I had another friend that was in the music business like my ex-husband, plus he was also a teacher at Chubb Institute for computers. So he helped me build my website, my first website, which was pretty progressive back then. I mean, he would get me to do my part of it, and then obviously he did the real technical stuff. And he knew how to get it SEO'd for the time. Mm. So literally, I am not even joking you, for probably 10 years, I came up on page 1, number 1 in the US.
Wow.
Period. Other teachers were like, what are you doing? How is this possible? Why are you showing up in LA and New York and Seattle and Oregon and Tennessee? And why? How? Why?
That's amazing.
And because there wasn't that many of us to start. And Google had really started to get, again, like I just stepped in at this crucial point, and then I had the right friends that for the time were helping me. And so for 10 years, I was getting calls from across the country.
That's amazing.
And that was it. That's what there was. And then when I was home, I was literally, you know, on my days off, I would pack up my bag, I'd get dressed up, I'd take my sort of decent looking brochures and business cards, and I would go to every nail salon, every hair salon, and be like, hi, this is what I do, here's my card and whatever. And the hard part then, you think, well, how hard was it if you're one of the only ones? It still wasn't popular. They had no idea what the heck I was talking about.
Yeah.
And I'd have to be like, no, look.
Yeah.
It doesn't come off. And they're like,
no, exactly. That's pretty much what I had to do as well. And also, like, people do have it quite easy nowadays. People do have it quite easy though. Of like even something simple like a digital camera.
Yeah. Now your cell phone has like my cell phone has a better camera than the camera I had when I started.
Yeah, I used to use those Kodak portable ones and just hope for the best that the light was okay.
And half the time it wasn't. They looked bluish or like it was. But back then there was nothing else, so nobody thought it looked bad because nobody else had anything.
But then saying that, you then also got the other side of things where with the social media, I do think sometimes with the amount of filters that people have and the this and that, actually it's not a raw image. It's not a true representation. No. So in both sides, it's kind of, you've got a plus and then you've got a minus on both sides.
Well, I think mine was more about the lighting than anything. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have like the fancy things that we could use now to tone down the lighting or whatever. It just was what it was. Okay, here's your studio, here's your place, this is the lighting, use it. How it comes out is how it comes out. I would have to take it to the camera store, hand them my film, get my pictures back. Then I would have to get multiple copies and mail it to my webmaster so that he could put them on my website because, exactly.
Yeah, so nowadays people do have it easy, I think, to a certain degree.
No, they do. When they whine and complain, I want to come through and go, like, they're so spoiled because, I mean, we really had to makeshift stuff. I mean, and we got through it and we figured out how to overcome, how to circumvent. We were more creative about how to get the job done. And relentless, we gave a whole new meaning to that word because nothing was easy to get done. Now, you could basically sit in one room and do everything.
Yeah. No.
Where it wasn't like that for us. And I'm not, you know, I don't begrudge them. That's great. But they expect it all to be hand delivered. And that's not how it works, you know?
And then finally, Theresa, how do you see the future of our industry?
You know, I think now the genie is so out of the bottle, it's never going back in. I think the fad is going to reach a peak, which it may have at this point with the way 2020 has been. I think it kind of took a lot of the wind out of the sails. But it's never going to go anywhere. People now know what it is and they like the convenience of it. So it's here. It's here. And I don't think you can do a lot more innovating as far as how to get the job done. You know, we've seen all the crazy ways. We know all the steadfast, true ways. So I don't think that's going to change a whole lot more in the future. I mean, you may get a couple new machines that have built-in power supplies, you know, that are more streamlined for permanent makeup. You'll probably see a few more of those, but I don't see things changing all that much.
Good. Well, hopefully it'll be the same level as what we've been doing, and then hopefully future we just have better technicians, better treatments, and then I'll still continue learning. I don't think you can ever not stop learning. I think it's always like each year I go to a different course. And learn something, whether it be a webinar or a course or ideally in person. I've always got to keep learning, haven't you?
Well, yeah, and I made that deal with you. You were so sweet to offer, but when things like got some semblance of like sanity, I want to come visit you, even though scar camouflaging is not really my thing. I'm like, you know what? I really hate not knowing what I really would like to know. So we talked about this. I'm going to come visit you and I'm going to learn something. And if nothing else,
I would love to have you come over to Theresa Judd over to the UK to come and learn and to stay with us. It would be amazing. Watch out, UK.
Absolutely. And I need you, your husband, and your daughters. Like, we have to designate learning day and then party day because your family is the most fun family that probably exists. So I am easily manipulated to get into trouble.
Oh, you know, well, I'm just the person to do that with you.
Yeah, exactly. So no, but I want to do that. Even though I don't do a lot of it, I don't get a super lot of requests for it here. I would still like to say, well, I feel like that's my weakest point. So, and then it would just be so much fun to spend time with you. I'm like, okay. All right.
Done deal. Theresa, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really interesting. Always lovely to chat to you. And I cannot wait, nor can the UK, wait for Theresa Judd to come and join us.
I want some cottage pie.
Cottage pie. And maybe a little scone and a bit of cream.
There you go, and some fish and chips.
Oh, not a problem at all. Theresa, thank you so much. Lots of love. Stay safe, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Love you guys. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Lots of love. See you later. Thank you.
Bye, honey.